I'd like to call this meeting of the Harriman City Council to order, February the 7th, 2023. Before we get started, we'll have a prayer by our Parks and Rec Director, Mr. Charlie Jones, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag. Mr. Jones.
Father, we do thank you, Lord, for this opportunity to have you back here tonight, Lord. I pray, Lord, you'll be with the council and the mayor as they conduct the business tonight. Give them wisdom, Lord, to make the decisions they need to make, Lord. Also, it's an honor to have Curtis Anderson here with us tonight, Lord. We just read his bio, we read his life. I pray, Lord, he's a true hero to each one of us, Lord. And I pray, Lord, he's an example that we need to follow, Lord. And I pray, Lord, you'll be him and his family, Lord, and be able to do everything that's said and done here tonight. That's in your precious name. Amen.
Amen. Will you stand? Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Here.
Tim Johnson.
Here.
Alicia Harris.
Here.
John Brackett.
Here.
Travis Kirkland. Kenny Me.
Here. I'd like to declare a quorum. Need a motion to approve the minutes of the January 17th, 2023 meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson. Second. Second by Councilwoman Harris. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilwoman Harris. No, sir. Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carried. Motion to pay the salaries.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Frost, second by Councilman Pratt. Councilman Frost.
No, sir.
Councilman Pratt.
No.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. Motion to pay the bills.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Harris, second.
I'll second.
Second by Councilman Johnson. Councilwoman Harris.
No, sir.
Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett. Kenny Me.
Motion carries. This time we'll hear from delegation. Before we get to delegation, we've got a special guest here with us tonight. Chief.
Get my glasses on. At the beginning of the year this year, I talked to Mr. Mason and the mayor about starting a program once every 4 months to name a hometown hero, somebody in Harriman that serves the community and just does right by the people in Harriman and makes us proud to live here in Harriman. And this is our second one for this year. And we got together as a committee, myself, Mr. Mason, the mayor, Charlie Jones from Parks and Rec. Well, we chose Mr. Curtis Anderson to be the hometown hero for this quarter. And we have a little bio on Mr. Anderson that I'm going to read to you all right quick, that I think his family wrote. Curtis Alfred Anderson was born in Harriman, Tennessee, July the 15th, 1929. As the fifth child of the Reverend Preston Samuel Anderson, Sr. and Miss Troy Anderson. He was widowed in 2020. He has 5 children. Chanetta Jefferson, Corliss Thompson, Karen McNair, Dan Anderson, and Daryl Anderson. He also has 3 sisters living in Harriman, Miss Louise Wormley, Miss Virginia Jo Childress, and Miss Julia Harris. Mr. Anderson attended Campbell High School in Rockwood, Tennessee, where he starred in football. Upon graduation, Mr. Anderson received a scholarship to play football at Morris Brown College in Atlanta, Georgia. and was the starting cornerback for the 1951 National Black College Championship. He was also a baseball player and played for 2 summers in Birmingham, Alabama with the Negro League's Birmingham Black Barons. He has personally signed 2 baseballs that are now on exhibit in the Negro Southern League Museum in Birmingham, Alabama. Mr. Anderson retired from K-25 plant in Oak Ridge in 1988. He had worked at all 3 facilities, Y-12, X-10, and K-25, before retiring as a supervisor at K-25. Mr. Anderson has been a lifelong member of St. Mary's Baptist Church in Harriman, Tennessee, and has served as a deacon and chairman of the deacon board for over 5 decades. God blessed him with a wonderful voice, and he loves to sing and listen to gospel music. Every morning he rises and moves about. He is singing and or whistling God's praises throughout his home. Over his lifetime, he has sung with gospel quartets such as the 5-Star Jubilees, Men of Praise, and Spiritual Harmonizers. Mr. Anderson's crowning achievement is that he has uplifted the Roane, Anderson, Loudoun, and Knox counties with a Sunday morning Christian broadcast for over 65 years every Sunday morning. This broadcast has informed the community of all church announcements in the area and inspired young and old with Christian music that has uplifted and won souls for Christ. Currently, Mr. Anderson spends his time sitting with his sisters daily, traveling to his children's homes in Alabama, and visiting his special friends at the Harriman Post Office every morning. Mr. Anderson loves people and people love him. He always has a smile and loves to make you laugh. At 93, his steps may be slower, but he still has a quick wit about him. And I want to personally say, when I'm out riding around in the community, it's a pleasure to stop by Mr. Anderson's house and just sit and talk to him. He's a wonderful man. He always invites you in with open arms and will talk to you for as long as you sit there. And he's been a great inspiration to me just since I've been the chief here and got to know him. Before we present him with his plaques, I'm going to ask his pastor, Willie Gallagher, to come up and just say a few words and maybe even have a prayer for Mr. Anderson. Willie's also a special friend to Mr. Anderson.
What can I say, not only about our hometown hero, but a legend? For he certainly is a legend. I think back to ever since I can remember growing up and being able to go to the park and seeing him out and about. He always carried himself in such a way that all of us young men was like, I want to be like Mr. Anderson. Because not only, we didn't have the word back then, but he certainly had swag. For sure. But he carried it with such a demeanor that there was no doubt that he had a relationship with the Lord. And that meant more as I grew older, watching him throughout my life. And, as his pastor, I still look to him as the standard, because he set a high standard, not only for us as young black men, but as men in general, by the way he carried himself. The Bible tells us not to add to or take away from the Bible. But when I think about the 11th chapter of Hebrews and the heroes of faith, I think he fits right in there as well. For what he's done, how he's lived his life, he's done it by faith. And he will let you know that. I've been able to, over the years, talk to him and get to know him a little better, and come to find out that he went to a singing contest one time, and his group came in second. I was really surprised. I was really surprised because if you ever heard him sing, you know he can blow. But I come to find out that I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think he got beat by Sam Cooke. I believe it was that right? So that's not too bad. That's not too bad. I'll let you slide on that one, But it's just an honor to be his pastor, to be around him all the time. The leadership and the guidance that he's given me has not only helped me as a pastor, but it's helped me as a man in general to be a better husband, to be a better son, to be a better servant. So Deacon Anderson, we love you. Thank you for the standards you set and how you continue to hold that light. Let us pray. Father, we thank you, Lord, for this day. We thank you for this gathering, this occasion. We thank you for our mayor and the city council, dear God, for those that are gathered here. Father, to honor your servant, dear God. You said in your word to give honor to what honor is due, Father. And certainly he is honored, not because just of his accomplishments, but God, because he has given himself unto you. Father, he seeks your presence every day, dear God. So continue to let his light shine, dear God, that we may see his good works and give you the glory. We ask your blessings upon him, not only this day, but in the days and the years to come. For we ask it in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen.
Mr. Anderson, if you'll come up front, council. Yes, sir. Do you want one to come down? Mr. Anderson, on behalf of Mayor Wayne Best, Harriman City Council, City Manager Scott Mason, and the Harriman Police Department, we honor you as Harriman's hometown hero for February.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
And here's another little something for you to set up. If you don't mind, would his family please come up here and stand with him to get a picture with the city council?
Thank you.
Come on up here, Mr. Anderson. You be the center of attention.
All right, sure.
You make it look like I'm
Mr. Mason.
Gotta have a speech, Curtis.
Very good.
You gotta have a speech. I'm good. You guys? Yeah, I'm sorry.
And over here, please.
Yeah, I'm done.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson, for just being you.
Thank you.
I think it's you.
That's my red man.
Before Mr. Anderson leaves, Mr. Anderson, before you leave, I'd just like to say, growing up in Harriman my whole life, I remember going when I was a kid, we'd go play tennis. You'd go to St. Mary's.
Yeah, right.
You'd always come out and talk to us.
Yeah, sure.
And as Pastor Willie said, I always wanted to grow up and be like you, because I wanted, if I could be just half the man that you've been, then I'm a real man.
Appreciate it.
And I appreciate all you've done. I appreciate what you've done in the community.
Yes.
I know when I first ran for mayor, you asked me one thing when you was down at your favorite place, the post office.
Yeah.
I came in, you said, "Mayor, is there any way you can fix my road?" Your road was one of the worst in Harriman. And I said, "I'll work on it, I promise." Next time I seen you, you said, "You gonna fix my road?" I'm grateful we got to fix your road. And, we appreciate what you do, and you're a true inspiration to all of us.
I appreciate the mayor, the city councilman, and also chief of police for this wonderful occasion. I thought, I didn't know what was going on, you know. You invited me down. I thought we was having a homecoming or something. I thought some food going to be served. But I appreciate it. God bless.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for all you do. family that came down. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you all for traveling.
At this time, if anybody'd like to address this council, please come up to the podium, state your name, and limit your comments to 3 minutes. Anybody like to address council? All right, if not, we'll go into reports. Harriman, you took the board.
All right. I guess to start off, Harriman Utility Board is hiring. We have 3 posted positions and have already begun interviews. So if you want to find out more information about that, you can see our website. We're on track to sell the Hannah Farm in the next couple of months. We've been working on our standards and procedures, specifications, and things like that to get ready to be more developer friendly, have all our ducks in rows. Excited about that. Our AMI project is ongoing. You'll probably get tired of hearing about this, but we have been getting a lot more shipments of meters. Primarily right now we're focusing on getting these endpoints on the customer gas meters. Right now we can read about a third of our gas meters from the office, and that's really exciting to us. We're starting to put electric meters out now as well, and we'll slowly probably get around the water last, unfortunately, because of the way the supplies are coming in. Our electric department installed a total of 107 new services during the calendar year 2022. That's a good sign. We're excited about any growth in our system. I find it interesting when I look at the map that those are just really sparsely scattered throughout the entire grid. There's not one concentrated area. So you can imagine if we had 107 new services in 2022, how the Hannah Farm development could potentially impact us. That's more than 107 just in one spot. So we're really excited about the growth. We're still negotiating with some potential property owners to utilize grant funding for a commercial electric vehicle charging station. That's something we hope to use in the next 2 months to get that project started, and just another way to get Harriman on the map. And although we don't have an official contract yet, we have been notified the city's TDEC ARPA application for water and sewer improvements has been approved. We really appreciate the collaborative effort that went into this between the city of Harriman, Roane County, Morgan County, and the town of Oakdale. We'll have about $3.6 million that we can spend on improvements for our water and sewer systems. That's all I've got, unless you have questions.
Any questions? Ms. Candace.
Candace, the 107, you probably answered my question in what you said, that those were new meters put on.
On our electric grid.
Okay.
I don't have numbers for the water and sewer right now. It'll be substantially.
No, that's not quite relevant. So instead of, it's not, in other words, it's not changed out, so I guess.
No, these are brand new services.
Yeah, what's that? Yeah, the
Yeah,
brand new
new
stuff.
transformers, new wires.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's awesome.
That's really exciting.
That's right. It is. That's right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
City Treasurer, Mr. Rutter.
Thank you, Mayor. Council members, I have in front of you the executive summary for the month of February. I'm pleased to report that once again we had another great month of growth in local option sales tax. Of course, as you know, that's my area of focus as far as our budget is concerned from a revenue perspective. I was actually a little bit taken aback because the number turned out to be exactly the same as the previous month at 10.53%, and I thought maybe I had duplicated the same line in my spreadsheet, and I went back and no, that was correct. We had 2 consecutive months exactly 10.53% growth, which of course is phenomenal growth rate. If you annualize that trend rate for this fiscal year, you come out with about 9.25% growth, which translates into 290. So we're staying really close to that projected potential $300,000 budget surplus in our line item for local option sales tax. That's a great thing. I've also been keeping track of, and I projected a revenue number kind of early on, and I'm glad to see that my projection was pretty close to accurate for the Gates Hall revenue. And that revenue is going to come out to be close to about $25,000 for this fiscal year if it stays on track with where it has been over the past 7 months. And so, again, I'd like to reiterate that the total debt service for this building and all the renovations that we made to it is about $48,000 a year. So just the revenue generated from the activities in Gates Hall is covering about half of the cost associated on an annual basis for this building. That is a massive success and should be celebrated tremendously. So to update you, we're starting on the budget process. We're doing the budget a little bit different than we did last year and in previous years. We're starting the process a little bit sooner. What Scott has done, I think, very successfully over the past several months since he's been in his position, since I've been here for sure, is the meetings with department heads on a regular basis. And what that has done is that has brought about a lot of fiscal control from an expenditure perspective. It's been incredibly effective. Our expenditures are actually trending in virtually every department under what we had budgeted. So not only are we looking at an excess budget, we're looking at a budget surplus from a revenue perspective, we're also looking at a budget surplus from an expenditure perspective. So we started that process. I want to thank Councilwoman Harris for showing up yesterday to our first budget meeting for this year. I think it went very well, and we look forward to working with you. You had some great insight, great questions about the process, and hopefully yesterday kind of helped you see what we're trying to achieve. So the last thing I'd like is to congratulate Scott on passing his final exam for the CMFO. So we now have an official certified municipal finance officer on board, and I should be finishing my final exam before the end of the month. So I'd like to congratulate Scott. That's all I have.
Anybody have anything for the city manager? I've already given you your job.
You know what? I respectfully decline.
I'd just like to say I did attend the meeting on yesterday, and I think we're going to be in good shape, primarily because the city manager spends that time with every department head and has a feel of what they're spending and what they need to spend. So I'm excited to continue the process with Mr. Harriman.
Thank you. Mr. Owens, City Attorney.
All right. We've been working on a few things over the past 30 days. Some of those we passed out at the workshop, but let me just go through a few of those. The brewery permit ordinance that you have before you tonight, which amends the ordinance that we have in place. This will allow for the manufacture and sale of beer at breweries within the city. The annexation memorandum that Gavin passed out last week, so we prepared that, and I know we've got some annexations coming up and follow through with that process. We have filed 5 notices of lien on properties which the city has spent funds to clean up, so those are now of record. We have drafted and delivered a quitclaim deed to the Clifton Street property to the City of Harriman IDB's attorney. We've had a meeting with Mr. Hester's attorney, Ben Mullins, regarding the lawsuit that we filed that has any number of defendants in it as of this moment. So we're in discussions with Mr. Mullins, and I got some feedback from Gavin from the workshop that we had last month. So we're going to continue to talk with Mr. Mullins, and we'll bring back something at some point to talk about further. We may do that in an executive session. Some other matters that we've been working on, some zoning matters, TDOT contract, and we've done some research regarding some delinquent properties, and so we're starting to work on the delinquent properties of the city. That's it.
Anybody have any questions? Mr. Owens. Thanks, sir. Appreciate it. City Manager, Mr. Mason.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you, members of the City Council. You'll receive tomorrow this latest direction, a copy of the direction. I've given you a hard copy if y'all sort of follow along. It is quite lengthy. Everything that's going on in the city, about 6 pages, but I noticed a couple of misspelled words, so I'll correct those in the morning before I send it out. Just want to hit the highlights of what's going on in the city over the last 3 weeks since we had our last City Council meeting. If you look under the streets department, we are going to talk about that today. If you go down to number 7 right there, it's PN 126676. That's one of the items that we have on the agenda. But speaking with Jeremy, depending on the direction of council tonight, should we choose to move forward with this project, you can see the projected timeline there. If we were to rebid this project from this month, we would reject, re-advertise March. We'd have a bid opening, request TDOT concurrence, and then in April, award the project and start construction. Jeremy is here representing Weiser and can answer any questions we have on that before we move forward. Great news, our leaf truck is back in service. Drac and his crew are about caught up with all of that had fallen behind when it had needed some repair. Found out today our chipper truck has been really busy. That's what Drac and his crew pull around, so they cut down trees, pick up brush. We have to replace the clutch on that chipper. We should have the part by Thursday and have that back in service again this Friday. And they have been really busy. If you go, probably one of the largest trees I've seen cut down, they were busy in Cornstalk Heights, but the one that was next to the old police department off Pansy Hill was a massive tree, and that property still belongs to the city, so we're responsible. And I'd asked the mayor, I said, we're going to have to hire somebody to come out and probably cut that down. It's a big tree, it's close to telephone lines, and he said, no, Drake's crew can do it. And I said, man. And so I took Drac by there, and he said, yeah, we'll get it. And I mean, they did a really good job. Can't even tell, they cleaned up, did a super job, and protected our liability as far as any of that tree falling either in the road or on the old police station. So they've done a great job with that. Lots and lots of brush and junk orders, and then it's our plan. We have a street committee coming up. Our paving schedule will be presented to the street committee, and hope to have that for you for approval bids our next council meeting this month. Our Parks and Rec basketball season is winding down. March 3rd will be our end of the year tournament, and as that's happening, baseball and softball is already ramping up. That season starts here at the end of this month, and we will have opening ceremonies, and we'll get more information on that for you on Saturday, April the 1st. We did have, if you've been in the community center lately, there were 4 heaters in there, 2 of which I don't think ever worked. We had one go down, and so we had Dave, we borrowed the lift from the school system. He was able to look at it. I think we're going to be able to replace one of those 2 heaters. It'll be a good fix until we decide if we want to put that into our LPRF grant and maybe convert a true AC system for the gym and heating. But right now we only have one, and get a lot of people in there, and there were Saturday, and it got heated in there. Nobody was talking about the lack of heat, but we did have that go down, and Dave Brandon is on top of that, and Charlie as well. We did get our new scoreboards that y'all approved for our softball fields. They arrived today. We should have those up before the season starts for the high school and the middle school dance leagues. Our batting cage construction is underway. We thought we would have it up by the end of the week, but we've got to make some corrections on a couple of holes that HUD really helped us drill. It wasn't any fault of their own, but they've been really good in helping us get that up and going. Charlie, Keita, and Evan, we had several Zoom meetings on the Baisley property and the LPRF grant, which I'll give you a little more information on that when I get to that part of my report. Charlie, is there anything else that I missed?
I would like to introduce our new Assistant Parks and Rec
okay. All right.
to the council and mayor. 3 weeks ago, we've been looking for an Assistant Parks and Rec Director, and we made had several applications, but Justin had been working for us before, Justin Johnson. We started out when I was 14, 15 years old, worked a session, went through there, can mow, can do all, just do anything we've got. He knows the programs, and he just does a really good job in here for 3 weeks. He's jumped in, he's helped controlling some of the parks we've got going on, the community center, all things going on. But I'm just glad to have Justin as part of our team now. So introduce him. Thank you.
Our library report, I'm happy to receive that Tammy's reported they received all the books that they ordered through their most recent state material allotment. Carmen is working this week on getting those things cataloged and put the jackets on the books to get them on the shelf so it's open to the public. The last allotment from the state for this fiscal year is open, and they have already begun ordering those books and supplies. We were truly blessed. I know Chief Tapp went down and spoke at Harriman High School, and I had the privilege to go down there a couple of weeks ago, and they were going on a field trip, and they were all excited because they were going to the Harriman Library. And so on item 2 under library, Tammy reports that they were blessed to have 2 classes from the school visit. It was Tennessee history in their civics class. Tammy got to explain to them how the library is an integral part of not only the city government, but also how she has to work within the confines of the state government. So the kids had a really good time, and then, of course, Tammy took the opportunity to give them a history of the Carnegie Library, and the kids really enjoyed that. The quarterly report for the state has been completed by Tammy and her staff for the last 3 months. The e-books, which she had ordered, I think, on the last state allotment, we got some new books for that. They've been very popular. The checkout numbers were higher than previous totals, right, Tammy? And this is something I didn't know, and maybe you all don't know, but it's something I learned as I was putting the report together. We actually have a homebound service to our library. Tammy and you all deliver books to our homebound citizens, take those out and bring them back when they get finished. So just another service she and her staff offers, and just goes out of the way. It's not required, but I know it's greatly enjoyed by everybody that benefits from that program. Our children's library, our programs are going strong. Connie reports that Show and Share, they've been averaging about 17 students for that in their kindergarten through first grade, over 16. And the preschool program is by far the largest. They have on average 40 children and parents who come weekly. Our elementary homeschool program averages 23. Actually had to order more chairs for this group. You can read there some of the things they've had, and they've had 3 new families join the program since we last reported. They have been hosting the Roane County breastfeeding class led by Malika Branham. The attendance has increased every week, and again, it's another great service that the city and our library offers to anybody in our county. Connie's been working to get the summer reading program. You can see the dates. That'll begin starting in June and run through the summer. She's already got several presenters scheduled. If your schedule allows, and we'll send that out as we get closer. It takes some time because it is really interesting what they do for our summer reading program. And Connie, you and Tammy, have anything you want to add? No? Okay. The events section on there is very long. I'm not going to go through and hit all of them. There's 16 items, and then I forwarded an email to you from Dave from Martha. Everything that was going on in just the city of Harriman, and it just blows me away. So what I wanted to do was just highlight a few of those. One thing we are going to do is on March 3rd through April 7th, and we're going to piggyback off of an idea that mayors had in previous years, but we're going to have it called the Big Easter Egg Hunt, where we will have prizes, something hidden all over the city.
Eggs hidden all over the city with a code on them, and they have to find the big egg, write the code in there, and then they bring their sheet back, and if they've got the whole sheet filled up, they get their name put in a raffle for a big prize, but anybody that brings a sheet in with any codes gets a gift bag.
So that's what I wanted to highlight. We've not done that before. And then number 8 down there, our Temperance Committee has really been active over the past year, and they're going to have a hard hat social, and with a whole goal to raise money, raise awareness about what the Temperance Building is and what it could be. And we'll get more information on that to you as well. That'll be this spring. Martha's already been planning. I know it's not that far away. December 31st, 2023 will be our first ever 2024 New Year's Eve bash and ball drop. So we'll get more information to you about that. Please check your email, and I think you probably got it twice. I want to make sure she had all correct emails. Some of y'all, we use different ones. So she will be mailing out each week this week's happenings in Harriman. She'll send that out on Sunday or early Monday morning so you can plan for the week. And we had a truly successful, Martha did this past weekend. We hosted the Miss Roane County Scholarship Competition, and that's a prelim to be the Miss Tennessee. We'll have those winners here at our next council meeting here in February. It was well attended by over 150 people there, and had numerous sponsors. And you read down through there that helped make this event and a whole lot better than what we had last year. It's of course, the city, Jerry Duncan Ford, Rhone Alliance, Permafix, Griffin Insurance, Scotty Dyke, State Farm Insurance, Cornstalk Heights Historical Community Organization, Blossom Barn, and Teresa Kirkland. So really a good pageant for those girls to help showcase them, and then they're scholarship winners. So we will have them here to be recognized and presented their awards in 2 weeks. Pretty good, Martha? You got anything you want to add?
Yeah.
Okay. Jimmy couldn't be here with us tonight, but we did email out last week the addresses for the addresses that are in the process of being scheduled for demolition, and we did have that in the budget. That is a long process to work through, working with John and his office to make sure, and of course Glenn Kofer. And then we also mailed the day prior to that those addresses that are going to need assistance with Glenn Kofer, our administrative hearing officer, which y'all approved back in, I think it was November. So that's up and running. He's working really hard on that. I'll just very briefly hit on a few of the grants that we're working on. Our interstate lighting grant, I did email all those plans out to y'all about 2 weeks ago to take a look at. That's supposed to be bid this month. We did receive, and this is a pretty big deal, the SS4A grant. We had told y'all about that this summer. Kudos to Keita for helping lead the way on that. That's a 5-year plan. It's 100% funding through federal dollars. The first year you're required to do a safety study. So we were awarded $67,400 for that. What we'll do is do an RFQ. We'll have a safety study, and that's to look at our walkways, our streets, and our lighting. And we have a really good report that makes us eligible for the final 4 years of up to, I think, $4 billion in funding for the state of Tennessee. So we'll continue to go through that. We've been working hard, and that's Charlie, Keita, Chris, Evans group on the LPRF. We have a deadline of February the 15th for our pre-application. If that's accepted, and then we get word that we have been approved, then we go through the application process. And what we've done is gone back on our master Parks and Rec plan and looked at what our citizens really wanted, areas they felt needed to be improved. So we've addressed all that. Had another meeting again with Evan and the group today. Even going to throw in our new doors for our community center that we're in dire need of, and might even be able to slide in our heating and HVAC, our HVAC system up there. So that's just an ongoing process right there. And our last grant, I want to update you, I was really working with Johnny Jones this morning. He had applied for a fire department FEMA grant, and that's quite expensive. It's over $180,000, so we will hear back from that this fall. And I'll close up. The MTAS salary survey is complete. It's done a little different than it was last year. I say it's complete for the city of Harriman. I've gone in there and entered all our salaries. You can compare that to cities our size all across the state of Tennessee. If you need help accessing that, let me know. But you can go in there as we go through the budget process. And it's really interesting. One thing that I hope more cities will do, right now we're the only town in Roane County that's put that information in there. And I think there's one in East Tennessee that's our size for comparison. So hopefully more cities will put their data in there and make it a more useful tool for us. 2 weeks ago, we had Public Entity Partners here. They do a yearly inspection where they take every building, everything the city of Harriman owns. They go through it, they make suggestions, and meet with all our department heads, and they come back and report a follow-up report where they meet with Keita and myself. And you know, we've had some accidents, we've had some claims, and I thought, oh, we're really high than what I was used to, but they were really complimenting on the city and our department heads and our employees because of the safety concerns and all the positive procedures they followed. And they said, really, our reports are pale in comparison to what other cities our size do. So they present us with some reports, and what we do is work with our department heads just to make the city of Harriman safer and less liable for accidents, and how can we prevent loss or risk management. And once I get that final report, I'll certainly send that out to you all. All the employees are also under required training, and John Johnson, who's our safety officer, leads us on that. We have until the end of March, or the end of this month, to come all completed, but every employee in Harriman has to take sexual harassment, global SDS, HASCOM, bloodborne pathogen, first aid, CPR, and AED training. So we will all have that complete by the end of this month. And thanks to John for heading that up. As Chris reported, our budget process has started, and I've got a packet there, and I'm not going to certainly go through all that this evening, but this is an example of what we worked through. And just to explain, one thing we had our department heads do last year, and it is very small print, so I could get it on one page, but they had to list their priorities going into the budget process and had to give reason why that was a priority. So that was our goal throughout this year, to try and meet those. And you can see most of them have been met. We also asked in those last two columns, what are they going to do better as a department head and to be a more effective leader, and what are they going to do to make the city of Harriman better in the next 1, 3, and 5 years. One other column we're going to put in there this year, and we've already told our department heads, give 3 examples of how you have shown initiative this past year. What is something you've come up with that makes your department, our city better? So they will have about 2 weeks to fill this out. We encourage them to go back and talk to every member of their department, get their input on what they think our budget priorities would be, and so to make this a working document. And once I get that, I will share it, and the font will be much larger, but y'all have access to that. We gave them each their balance sheet. This is what Chris was talking about. I gave one in each of your packets just to prove where they work from. They look at what their expenses are, where they're on each line item. We discuss that each month. The only one I've let the ball slip on is with Tammy, and we're going to get that straight, meeting on a monthly basis. And then the last thing in the packet, what I asked you to do is just old school. I said, that's their budget they had in there for 21, 22, 23. I said, once you talk with your departments, once you have a figure in your mind, pencil that in, and then we'll sit down and start working the numbers, and that's what we'll present to you all in our first reading, as we work on our draft budget. So when you get a chance, if you have any questions through that, let me know. If you think we can make our process even better, let me know, or any way it might need to be changed, or just anything that need to be explained in that, I'll certainly be happy to do that. You'll notice on there, we've got, Chris and I sat down with the guy that's been teaching our CMFO classes. We're going to attempt to have all the budget worksheets in from our department heads on February the 28th, have a draft budget due to us, this is our timeline, on March the 15th, and we would like to have the first reading of the budget for you all around the 1st of May and the final reading about the middle of May. Is that right, Chris? 1st of June. 1st of June. That's what I thought. I missed it. That's awful soon, but it's hopefully something sooner rather than later, which will allow us to keep working effectively. And we'll get you more examples on that. And more information as we get closer. Many thanks to Candace. We were able to have our monthly meeting this past week. We had to postpone it a couple of times. We were able to talk about Hannah Farm, solar programs, and the ART grant webinar. So they were really good. Candace is still here. So I appreciate that line of communication. And at our next meeting, which will be in 2 weeks, in our workshop, Chris and I would like to talk to you a little bit about financials and really zero in on our ART dollars and our beautification, and bring that as a part of our upcoming budget we just started working on. And with that, I will be quiet unless you have any questions.
Well, you went over a few things, but one of my, just a quick question on the interstate lighting. Is part of that big project going to be some tree removal and all that, or is that just for lighting only?
Let me go back and look at that. I don't think there'll be a lot of tree removal. When they talk about replacing those high mast lights, it's really a quick turnaround. I think they'll use the existing base, they'll take those lights down, and those will go back up in those places. I'll have to go back and look on the plans. I think the lighting, and I don't know if Candace, I think it goes down between I-27 and the railroad. I don't think it goes in the median. We have a plan for in front of Shoney's to get those trees down, and we're working on trying to get in those meetings. I think you and I have talked about that.
Yeah, it's been going on for quite a while.
We tried to get the state prisoners down here to help with that, and we were informed, Dave spearheaded that, they won't allow the state prisoners to be on any state or interstate doing work. So we got other projects planned for them, so there'll be all hands on deck in that ditch that runs in between 27.
Okay, well, that, and as you get on the interstate, we can talk about some other time. I just wondered if it's part of that.
Yeah, we cleaned a little bit of it last year. We don't need to let it get back to where it was, so we've got other resources.
The one is you're getting on the interstate headed toward Knoxville and you're heading east. That was still where,
that right as you merge on where the accident was last year.
Your shoulder, and that was all part of when we started this lighting, talking about it 4, 5, 6 years ago or whatever, about getting some of that down. There's been wrecks in there where they've actually found people down in there days after it happened, not that long ago that happened. So I just think, if you don't take them all out, take the majority of them out. But anyway, just tell them that they...
I'll share with you some of the information I got on that. And there is a plan for the interchange, and I'll email, I got it from Don Brown for TDOT today. That's the one I sent out that's got all our counties in East Tennessee, and they're in engineering stages to change the exit ramps, not only there, but in Midtown and Kingston as well. So that's like a long way off. That's not an immediate fix, but I'll send that to you.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Anybody else have anything for Mr. Mason? Thank you. If anybody ever says they don't stay busy, just get his report and read it. At this time, we'll go into new business. First time discussing possibly approved ordinance 0223-01, amending Title 8, Chapter 2 of the Harriman City Code by adding a new subsection to 8-209 and to create a new class of consumption permit and by amending subsection 8-206. Motion to approve. Motion by Councilman Johnson, second Councilman Bratton, or me. Councilman Johnson.
No, sir.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possibly approve the closure of the sinking fund and the transfer of those funds contained within the debt service fund. Motion to approve.
I'm happy to give a little commentary. Some of the council members might not be very familiar with what that is and why I proposed it. The sinking fund was established years ago, decades ago, in association with a specific bond offering that has now matured and is no longer in existence, been paid off completely. And really, it's kind of a relic on our balance sheet. We don't need it anymore. We have the debt service fund, and the debt service fund is really where we should be doing all of our budgeting for the debt service payments. So my suggestion was, in consultation with our auditors and with Brad Harris, who's the finance specialist with impasse, that we close that account and we shifted the funds that are held within to the debt service fund. There's maybe $2,700 in the account, so it's a very small amount of money, and of course it will simplify our audit and our accounting practices.
Thanks, sir. Motion to approve.
Motion.
Motion by Councilwoman Harris, second by Councilman Brackett. Councilman Harris?
No, sir.
Councilman Brackett. Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possibly approve ordinance 0223-02, amending the zoning ordinance in the city of Harriman by establishing the R3 high-density residential district. Motion to approve.
Motion.
I'll second.
A motion by Councilman Bratton.
Motion by me.
I don't know.
You can't count that, that's me.
It was second down.
Motion by Councilman Meade, seconded by me. By Councilman Johnson. Who's on second?
Johnson.
Councilman Meade.
This was reviewed last week by the planning commission, and they put a lot of work into it with Keita and Scott and Glenn Coker and David, our partner that comes in. So it was over an hour-long meeting, went through details of it. So if you got any questions, those people can help answer them too, if you have any later on.
Councilman Johnson. Floor is open for discussion. Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possibly approve renewal of the Aromatic Care Network contract. You should have a copy of that in your budget. In your budget.
In your packet.
In your packet.
We'll give everybody one of these too, just more information.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
What this Harriman Care Network, you know it's more than UT Lifestar. Rowan County is fortunate enough to have a base at the airport. A lot of counties don't. This is a membership plan that the city's been doing for, this is the third year. What it does is offers all employees the membership at a discounted rate. For example, The membership, let me explain the membership real quick for those that don't know. The membership includes the employee and everybody that lives in the house. So what membership does for that employee is if they or anyone in their house has to be airlifted, we bill insurance, whether it's a third party, a car wreck or whatever. We bill whatever insurance we can bill. Remaining balance for the member, there's no out-of-pocket expense. So that's the best thing about this. It's just a financial thing for people, and we hope people don't get flown. If you're getting flown, you're having a bad day, and we don't wish that on anybody. But this does help a lot of people. We have nearly 4 million members across the United States. Harriman Utility Board, they're also they do this plan. We've been doing it the same amount of time. Their renewal's up in a couple of months, so we'll get to them. But Scott wanted me to kind of explain to you, if you ask questions or whatever to this. Also let you understand you all are qualified for this too. As city council members, you get the same discount. So it goes to all employees. Every employee has the option of doing it. They don't want it, they don't have to. It's strictly volunteer. You'll see on the application, they can put down here they want to do a payroll deduct or they want to opt out. There's no pressure on them. I do try to explain if they want to opt out, kind of, do you understand what you're opting out of? Because $65 is not a whole lot of money compared to what it could be. Over 50% of all insurance claims are completely denied. So that's where it comes into be a financial thing. Back to the $65, standard rate is $99. Pretty good discount for all employees. The 3 years, $185. Standard rate, and you can look in there and see it if you want to, but you can, I'll hit it real quick. Standard rate on that, and the reason I'm looking is because it just went up for only the third time since 1985. It's not about us making a lot of money, so it just went up. That's why I'm referring back to it. You guys get the 3 year for $185, standard rate's $249. The more years you get, the more you save. 5 years, $300, standard rate's $399. And then the 10 years, the best, is $575 for all employees. Standard rate is $769. And what this involves is that cannot change. You do a 10-year plan. That 10-year, if our rates go up again, doesn't affect that person bought a 10-year. Plus, if they leave the city and go work somewhere else, they retire, whatever, that's still theirs. If you do a year at a time, next year you don't work for the city, you don't qualify for this anymore. So that's kind of how that works. But Scott, want to let you all make sure you understand what it was. Make sure you understand that you qualify to get the same discount. And if there's any questions, I'd be happy to answer.
Now, if you do were to use it, is it just like that one-time deal?
Oh, no, it's multiple. Sometimes people get phoned from here to UT, and UT flies them to Vanderbilt's, and now you got 2 bills. But again, we cover, get whatever insurance we can, and then there's no out-of-pocket, regardless of how many times that member's flown.
That's real expensive to be flown.
It can be. And I can't answer prices, because people tell me what they pay, but I don't know. I can't, somebody says how much it costs. I can't tell you the exact amount, but I don't know.
They charged me $19,500 to fly a Learjet at a Cleveland clinic to come to Knoxville and pick me up and fly me up there. Luckily, my railroad insurance paid for it.
Yeah. I had a teacher.
A huge bill.
I had a teacher last week in Rowan County. Her son was flown. Her bill was $58,000. So all I can go on is what people tell me their personal bill is. And yours was low, because. Really. But yeah, around here we've got 5 lifestars that cover the area. I saw the one from Rockwood in there this morning. If that one's going and busy, then the one from Jacksboro, the one from Sweetwater comes over and takes care of business. So it's a great thing. I'm an old PE teacher and coach for principal. I'm not a salesman. Long ways from it. But I love what this product does, and I love what it does for people. I get a lot of nice phone calls about people that had to use it, which is a shame they had to, but sometimes we have to. We just never know. That's the key to it. You don't know if you use it or not, but if you do, it's going to be a financial, take off that financial burden.
Motion to approve.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Councilman Johnson, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Frost. Councilman Johnson.
I think it's a really great plan.
Councilman Frost.
If you can afford it, you should do it.
Councilman Frost.
No, sir.
Floor is open for discussion. Y'all have any other questions? Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you.
Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. Next item, discuss and possibly approve the rejection of all bids for PM 126676 sidewalk and street light project.
Good evening, everyone. So pretty much, just talking to Scott and Keita, the original bid for the project came in at 1.3 million. Scott reached out to TDOT for additional funds to cover that. Probably went maybe a month without hearing anything.
1st of November.
So I spoke with TDOT January 26th. They never approved the additional request for $556,000, which if we accepted the bid, we would leave the city on the hook for 100% to cover that. Right now, the only money that's allocated towards the project is $789,510. So that's the original TAP grant with the $100,000 additional to cover the storm drain and researching that was added on, after the scope of work. And talking with TDOT, they believe best to reject all bids, rebid the project. While I was on the call with TDOT, they had $13 million come back to their surplus. So that gives a high percent chance to get the funding needed to execute the job.
So does everybody understand what this was basically the grant that was going up on the other end of Harriman, Frontier W4, to redo the sidewalks and
Crescent to Georgia.
Crescent to Georgia, new lighting and sidewalks. We went back and forth with this grant numerous times. I think you was here maybe a month or so ago, and we had a long discussion about what we was doing and why we was doing it. I guess I've got a couple questions about it before we get into motions.
Can I ask one before you get into yours, just real quick? The five, just kind of, man, I've just been slaying different things here, figuring things out, looking at that equation. But the 5K you're talking about, I mean, the 500K, that was the FCO, the changeover, right? Is that what you're talking about on that? Is that, are we on the same page on this, or am I thinking about something else?
It's probably something else. So, excuse me, when we took the bids, the lowest responsibility, the bidder came in at 1.3 million. Out of that, with that TAP grant, it's an 80-20 split. TDOT or FHWA covers 80%, city covers the 20%. Well, since that bid came in so much higher, the city has to go back and request additional funds to cover that gap. So with that, we reached out, didn't hear anything 1st of November. Come back, I had a meeting with them late January. They never approved it. So right now, that's what the balance would be to even get a TDOT concurrence.
I'm not trying to drill you on that.
No, you got some.
I think HB had come up with, had found something that was lacking.
The lighting wasn't in it, and it was the sidewalk and lighting projects what we was looking at. And that goes along with some of my question as to
Okay, I don't let me.
the 1.3 million still didn't include the lighting that was going to have to go back and do. So I still had questions about. We went and asked TDOT for the extra $500,000 to make up the 1.3.
Yes.
That's without lighting in it.
Correct.
If we rebid it, I hope we're gonna bid it with lighting in it.
Correct.
Because it is a lighting grant. But on top of that, I guess my biggest concern with this is we was told by, not by you, but by Wiser that, TDOT, they already said we could do it. They're gonna give us the money. They're gonna give us the money. Well, now they didn't give us the money. We're gonna rebid it. The price may go up because everything has went up since we bid this thing. I guess it's.
What's the max amount for the grant that we can get from TDOT?
I don't know that there's a max amount on this.
I don't think so. As long as you're willing to cover the 20%, they'll give you the additional funding when it comes out.
But that wasn't that, was it?
How long is the grant available? Because we've had this grant for How was the grant?
I think it started in 2017, first phase. I
So
think.
we're 6 years in it. How long is the grant available? If we reject and we rebid it, we bid on awarded $700-something. How long is that money good for?
Since the project got to construction, we should be good enough to, good to bid it out. But again, like I can talk back to local programs and see what would be needed if we needed to extend the contract between the city and TDOT. If that makes sense. Like we're good for legal because we're past that phase, so we don't have to go back and reevaluate anything on that end. We just need what's the final deadline, which they're already to extend.
So we have the 700K already, but what you all were doing is going back to TDOT to ask for, I think, additional 500K.
Yes, ma'am.
But then the quote came out to 1.3, so we got to go back again and ask for more money.
So we had to go back for the 500K because of the 1.3. So we had 700, bids came in high. We need to cover that 500-something.
So the request is just to pull this bid and rebid it again in hopes that, for one, it'll include the lighting, but then also what we may get it lower or we may not get it lower, but we will know what to go back
And more than
to
likely,
TDOT
we will
for.
have the agreement to get the additional funding before we bid.
Somebody's got to cover that difference, right? That's what you're saying.
Yeah, so right now, someone has to look for 500,000.
Okay, let's say that we've got $700-something, we rebid it, it comes in, once we add the lighting to it, let's say it comes in at 1.4. We have to ask for the additional money to meet the 1.4, $600,000. What is the city, if we rebid it, is there any cost to us moving forward? Let's say that we rebid it and the bids come in at 1.4 and we say we're not going to spend that extra money, we're not moving forward, we're done with it. What is the city getting as far as billed right now?
Nothing.
So you all, nobody gets anything until we bid this thing out and we move forward?
Yeah, that's pretty much what it, yeah.
There's no penalty or anything?
No penalty. That's another thing to know. We opened bids on November 18th, I think. 60 days was December 16th, I believe. In the contract, there's a 60-day limit. To quote, it said, the award of the contract or rejection of all proposals will be made within 60 days after the formal opening of the proposals. So technically, every proposal received is already invalid. It's just notifying the contractors of such. There's no penalty to the city if we reject bids. There's no additional costs if the city rejects bid and rebid.
So we reject bids tonight, we're not going to open it back up tonight to have a motion to take new bids. We have to do that in the new meeting because it's not on the agenda tonight. Is that what we're doing?
If the city would like to push forward, yes, sir.
And then what the plan is at our next meeting, put the bid portion on the
Go back
agenda?
out for bid?
Yes, sir.
Back out, yeah.
Okay. And that gives us time to look at it, talk about it, to get Jeremy more and understand kind of what we're doing. Anybody have any other questions?
No, I think that
Clears it up.
Clears it up.
I hope I stepped out of turn, but you need to set up a meeting outside of council meetings to talk about it a little bit more in depth or whatever needs to be done. Just feel free to reach out. I know I'm trying to make myself available to respond to Scott Keita as requests come in. Full transparent, I don't mind showing you the numbers and showing you the process or explaining anything in further detail. I'm trying to cover it all, but sometimes you might think of something around home. So just feel free to reach out to me.
Well, I appreciate you being here, and I appreciate you talking to Scott as much as you have. We've had more conversation since you've been on the team, and we appreciate that.
Like I said, I can't go back and fix the things that happened in the past, but like I told you, told all of y'all last month here, I want to see this project through. Put your money in it. Why not get the bang for your buck? And whatever I have to do to push it through, I will. That's all I've been trying to do.
We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, man.
Motion to reject it. Yes, sir.
In our November 15th meeting, I just pulled up the minutes a few moments ago, and it appears that we approved the bid from McKinnon Construction Company during that meeting. Those minutes were approved by the council on December the 6th. So in addition to rejecting all bids, I would suggest that we add to rescind the previous action that the council made on November the 15th, which was then approved. The minutes were approved. We speak through our minutes. The minutes were approved on December the 6th.
Do we understand what the motion is? To rescind what we did on November the 15th is first approving the contract with McKinnon and also approving to reject all bids.
Yes.
Yes. Motion to,
So moved.
motion by Councilwoman Harris, second by Councilman Brackett. Councilwoman Harris.
Yes, sir.
Councilman Brackett. Floor is open for discussion. Thank you.
Thank you.
I think I forgot.
Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Next item, discuss and possibly approve the purchase of materials from Christmas Lumber Company for the deck at Emery Golf Course in the amount of $13,171.15.
Motion.
Motion by Councilman Frost, second.
I second.
Second by Councilman Brackett. Councilman Frost. Councilman Brackett.
It's funny. I don't laugh. I've always heard the dumbest questions the one that wasn't asked. I've been told that many times coming up through the field, but like I said, my mind's been on so many different things. The amount right here, did we kind of, have we shopped around on that a little bit, or is that kind of? Charlie, you want to say?
Yes, we went to Lowe's and to Potter's and Christmas. Christmas was about $300 or $400 more, maybe $500 more, but they're using number one lumber, and I think we're getting a little better material going on Christmas.
Any other discussion?
Boston Potters, did they not bid the same thing?
Why was Potter so low? Did they not bid the same thing?
They couldn't get all the material that was needed.
And this says we did budget this in the budget, correct?
Yeah, it's been in there for 2 years, it's now getting.
What's the size of that? I mean, you know what the dimensions are on that? Just
Yeah, it's going to be 16 foot out from one end and wrapping around to the other end, so it's going to be, I think it's 40 by 60.
treated lumber, is that treated lumber that?
Yeah, it's treated lumber, yes.
Okay. I didn't know if it was one. Some people. That would be the way to go on today. Yeah, okay, yeah. I just kind of bring myself back up a little bit.
Anything else? Call the roll, please.
Brian Cross.
Yes.
Tim Johnson.
Yes.
Alicia Harris.
Yes.
John Brackett.
Yes.
Kenny Me.
Yes.
Motion carries. It's all on the agenda till we get into council remarks. What else is coming for this agenda? Councilman Frost. Councilman Johnson.
Yes.
Councilwoman Harris.
No, sir.
Councilman Bright.
Nothing now.
Councilman Meade.
No, sir.
The only thing I have is, council, you all got the email from Ms. Teresa about our city manager's performance evaluation. If you can get that turned back in, I'd appreciate it so we can move forward on his evaluation and see if we want to put Chris over in that position.
I think we already did.
Anything else need to come before this council? Motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second? All in favor, aye? Any opposed, like sign.